This is Vijay Kumar of the Tirupati Spiritual Society. Sir, today, that is on the 7th November 97, on the occasion of your visit to Tirupati, we request you to speak on the subject death.
Okay, Mr. Vijay Kumar. As requested by you, today we would be covering the subject death in quite some detail. Actually, this is the only subject on which we should contemplate. This is the only thing that every person has to know. Every spiritual master throughout the various religions, various countries, what did they teach to humanity? They taught only one thing, that you cannot die, that death happens to the physical system, but not to you. You are not the physical system, you are the energy, knowledge, consciousness system that is enlivening the physical system. You are that, not this. In the Upanishads, one of the great Mahavakya is Tattvamasi Shvetaketo. It means, O Shvetaketu, you are that, not this. You are not that meets the eye in the mirror. You are not this physical system alone. You are something apart from that too. You are that energy, knowledge, consciousness system that is now integrated with the physical system. You are that, O Shvetaketu. This is the essence of the Upanishads. Similarly, when Buddha became enlightened, he had plenty of third eye and astral travel experiences, through which he had seen so many of his previous lifetimes, where so many times he was born into a human physical system. So many times he departed from the human physical systems and again born and again vacated. So having seen so many entries into the physical system and departures from the physical systems, through his own activated third eye, Gautama the Siddhartha became the Gautama the Buddha. Now he could see that there was no death whatsoever. So, being afraid of death is a very, very laughable proposition. People fear death because they don't know what is death. Once they know what exactly is death, they come to love death. Death will be celebrated. No death will be mourned. Death will become only the death of the physical system, but the energy, consciousness, knowledge system that is integrated so far with the physical system gets separated from it and goes on its own onward journey. into various other frequency universes. Having tasted physicality, physical life, the entity, the soul, the jiva, whatsoever name may it be called by, we leave the physical system on our onward journey. We are eternal verities. We are deathless souls. Occasionally we take a dip into the physical system for various reasons. Maybe to learn certain lessons, maybe to enjoy the physicality, maybe for company with other souls who are in the physical system themselves. For various reasons, we dip into the physical system. Birth is a dip, and death of the physical body means we exit from this system. As the great master Shakespeare said, all the world is a stage. We are all mere actors. We strut and fume, do our part, and then depart. So we are here to do our part, and finally we have to depart. Death is a departure. It is not the annihilation of the self. This is the most important thing and the simplest thing that we have to understand. That's what is there in the total spirituality, that we are not annihilated when the physical body is annihilated. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna said, न जायते मृते वा कदाचिन्नायं भूत्वा भविता वा न भूयः अजो नित्य शाश्वतोऽयं पुराणो न हन्यते हन्यमाने शरीरे. This entity, this self, is unborn. It cannot die. It is a witness to all times. It has been coming from such an ancient period. When the body is dead, it cannot die. So this is the refrain of Krishna to Arjuna. Now this is what is the simple truth experienced by every master through meditation, through yoga. We don't have necessarily to do meditation or to practice yoga to understand the simple fact. In fact, every night we are vacating our physical systems and traveling with our astral systems. Invariably, every soul that is a plant, that is an animal, that is a human being, all these souls need to get out of their physical systems periodically so that the physical system is given certain amount of rest. As long as this entity is in the physical body is under tremendous pressure, dynamism, activity. So the physical system needs to replenish itself periodically. So the entity that is in the plant body, the entity that is in the animal body, the entity that is in the human body, all these entities, they periodically vacate their respective physical systems, physical bodies. That is what is called as sleep. In fact, there is nothing like sleep. Nobody sleeps. Sleep is rather a state of unconsciousness. Neither the physical body can ever be in a state of unconsciousness, nor the energy, consciousness, knowledge system that can be in unconsciousness. Relatively speaking, the physical body, which is active when the entity is residing within it, relatively speaking, the physical body becomes rather immobile for a larger view. None of its cells become immobile. All the activity is on, only at a lesser key. So that is called as sleep. Now, if you observe yourself keenly, your own dreaming state, then you can be aware of your own real nature, which is that of being energy, being consciousness, being knowledge, which is quite separate from the physical system. If one becomes aware in the dream time, if one practices that, one can achieve easily enlightenment. One can know that one is not the physical body. That is enlightenment. Either by meditation or by study of dreams or by being aware in dream state, one becomes a knower. What does he know? He knows that he is not the physical body. He knows that he is the energy system, consciousness system, that is quite apart, quite separate, quite independent of the physical system. When this kind of knowledge sinks and sinks and sinks, then he is called enlightened. With this understanding, he goes about his day-to-day life without any fear of death, of either one's own self or all the people around himself or herself. Not that one invites death, not that one commits suicide, but he understands death. We are here to prolong our lives as far as possible, not to invite death. Because in the first place, we are here in the physical system by choice to learn, to acquire spiritual knowledge, to develop so many right qualities in ourselves. So it takes a lot of time. This earth is a wonderful school to so many astral worlds. Of all the astral worlds, which are infinite in number, the earth seems to be the best convent school that offers rich experience for every person. So, this kind of rich experience is not available in other situations. So, in fact, there's a big rush, there's a big queue in the astral worlds for a seat in the human physical body. Only meritorious students get a seat to be born as a human being. So, having got this seat on merit, it is incumbent on us to fulfill our obligations towards our own selves, and then only vacate the physical system. Then only invite death. Not until then. I have come to Tirupati for some work. I can't just come to Tirupati today and go away the next moment. If so, what is the purpose of my visit to Tirupati? I have come to Tirupati on certain work. I have to finish that work, and then only I can leave Tirupati. So, as I have got a definite purpose to come to Tirupati, similarly, every soul has got a definite purpose to come to the physical world. As I have to stay in some room, some hotel, some place in Tirupati, every soul has to reside in some physical body or other. I can't stay in all the Tirupati at once. I can stay in a part of the Tirupati. Similarly, you cannot stay in all the physical bodies at once. You have to select one particular physical body to have the physical experience of this physical world. After I finish all my work in Tirupati to my satisfaction, then I say goodbye to Tirupati. I am very pleased with my stay in Tirupati. Now I have got some other work in some other town, some other village, some other dimension. I have to go back to Kurnool or to Bangalore or to Madras or to whatsoever. So, after having their particular stint in this physical world, various souls go back to their own various destinations, depending upon what growth they have harvested here in this school. If I don't attend to my work in Tirupati and just waste my time in something that is less important, less significant, less meaningful, just because somebody has said something and I want to fulfill his desires, his needs, I forget my desire, my need, my purpose of coming here. If I am deviated from this, my purpose, then when the time comes for me to depart from Tirupati, since my booking is already done, since another booking is quite impossible in the last moment, you have to go from Tirupati, so you go unsatisfied. Whenever you go from Tirupati unsatisfied, you have to come back to fulfill that, to become satisfied. You come, you rush again. So, when a particular incarnation is wasted away, when that particular soul vacates the physical system and goes to astral worlds, when you see your life review, when you are dejected, dissatisfied with what you have done, you ask for another chance. You plead for another chance. You fall on the knees of the masters there or the managers there for another chance to rectify yourself. And it is not so easy to give you another chance just like that. Proper parents have to be selected, proper conditions have to be waited upon, because your particular requirements have to be catered to. It takes a lot of research work, and perhaps you may have to wait until the proper situations arise again, and then only you will be given permission to enter back. So, this is what is the truth. What is the truth? Basically, we are not the physical systems alone. We are the astral systems, presently coexisting with the physical system. During sleep time, we get separated temporarily. In meditation time, again we get separated temporarily. But in death, the separation is permanent. Please understand one thing. Meditation or sleep or death, all are out-of-body experiences. They are called as OBEs, or out-of-body experiences. Meditation and sleep are temporary out-of-body experiences. Sleep is unconscious out-of-body experience. Meditation is conscious out-of-body experience. While death is a permanent conscious or unconscious out-of-body experience. For non-masters, it is unconscious out-of-body experience. For masters, it is conscious out-of-body experience. In death, the connection between the astral body and the physical body, which is called as the silver cord, it gets severed. It gets snapped. During meditation and during sleep, the silver cord doesn't get snapped. It remains intact. So, definition of death is when the silver cord gets snapped, gets broken, then that is called as death. Disintegration of the silver cord brings out a disintegration of the physical system into its component parts and the separation of the energy, consciousness, knowledge entity, so that it starts its own onward journey into higher frequency worlds. If this is death, death cannot be moved. This is what Krishna said, Jatasya hi dhruvo mrityuhu, dhruvam janma mritasya cha, tasmat apariharyarde, na tvam shochitum arhasi. Every person who is born must die. I come to Tirupati, I have to go to depart from Tirupati. There is no way. Since I am a denizen of various cities, every soul is a multi-dimensional soul. It cannot stay forever in one particular dimension. So it has to move on. So death is inevitable. It is not something morbid. It is not something which is incorrect. Not something which is meaningless or a waste of natural resources. No. All these conclusions are logical only for non-spiritual people, for non-yogis, for purely materialistic persons who cannot understand what is spirituality, who never make any effort to understand spirituality. But for understanding yogis, but for understanding spiritual scientists, the truth is very simple. We move on. That's what is death. We move on to our own unfinished tasks elsewhere. We move on with our experience in the physical system. As better persons, we go on. So, there is nothing whatsoever to be lamented. And if our overall lessons on the earth are yet to be learned, then we keep coming back again. But we are never annihilated. Our personality is intact. Our individuality is intact. So, in the knowledge of our own eternal life, there one becomes for the first time happy, peaceful, stops running unnecessarily since he has got eternal time on his hands. So, when one understands death, one is absolved of all misery. One comes out of all suffering. One comes out of sorrow, mental tension. When you come out of your mental tensions, then naturally your physical body becomes healthy, robust, energetic, and you enjoy your life to full. As long as you are under the grip of the fear of death, then there will be tremendous mental tensions every single second, and under that great impact, your physical body withers. It becomes old, it becomes wrinkled, and the silver cord has to snap. If there are no mental tensions, because you have understood death, there is no need for the physical body to have wrinkles, for it to become old, for the silver cord to ever snap. There is no need, there is no necessity. It can't happen unless you will it. So, as you understand death, as you practice the wisdom that oozes out of it every single second, out of the contemplation of death, your own physical life, your own physical body becomes robuster and robuster and robuster. And it becomes so very robust that you become physically immortal. And you would be able to leave the physical body, physical system at will. That is the final outcome of constant contemplation on the fact that there is no death. This is what great masters have done, and they have become Chiranjeevis. How did they become? First of all, they have come to know what exactly is death. Then they constantly put that concept before themselves every single second, and so strengthen themselves emotionally and intellectually that their physical body has become immortal. We can choose to stay in the physical body as long as we want to. Nobody decides our departure date. I decide my own departure date from Tirupati. Now we can go on to other aspects or more technical aspects of death. Now we can go into a little more detail into our after death state. Now we go into a rather a mega picture of the, say we can call the story of the soul.
So, let us hear briefly what is the story of the soul. Somewhere we have to start to describe the plant's life. Either you start from the tree stage or you start from the seed stage. So, somewhere you have got to start. If I want to see, enter Tirupati, somewhere I have to enter Tirupati. I cannot enter Tirupati in all the points simultaneously. So somewhere I have to enter Tirupati, either in the airport or in the bus stand or in the railway station, then move on to other places of Tirupati. Similarly, for the story of the soul, let me start at a point which is called as a perfect master. When a soul completes its own school life, its own lessons on the Mother Earth, totally, and becomes a perfect master, the soul moves on to supracausal worlds, which are very, very high frequency universes. In Hindu lore, we can call it as the Satyaloka. Or as Jesus said, my Father who art in heaven. So, a perfect master who has completed his course perfectly on the Mother Earth reaches after his death very, very, very high state of being in so-called Satyaloka. Any name we can give. There he is said to be an over-self. Now what happens? Just like on the earth, when a particular human body becomes mature, becomes reproduction worthy, it mates and it reproduces to bring new offspring. And it raises those offspring so that they too can become like the mature adults. Now the same thing happens. The mature master, the perfected master, who is called an over-self, creates his own underlings. There is no his or her over there. It is a neutral gender there. Only in the physical body we have got various genders. Once the physical body is ripped, then in the other worlds there is no gender whatsoever. You can be whatever you want. It's all a question of what you hold for yourself and you become that. If you hold for yourself a female shape, you become that. If you hold for yourself a male shape, you become that. If you hold for yourself an electron, you become an electron. If you hold for yourself to be a proton, you become a proton. In those high stages, you become whatever you want to become. So, when a perfected master reaches those kinds of heights, the natural desire is to procreate, to create under selves, which are placed in what are called as the causal worlds. This over self is in the supracausal worlds, and the new offspring, new entities of rather empty shells of consciousness are placed, produced and placed in the causal worlds. These empty shells of consciousness, now they start their journey in the incarnational cycle of humanity. From the causal worlds, for the first time, from the empty consciousness shell which is placed in the causal worlds, a tentacle comes into the earth to enter into a physical body. For the first time, when it gathers certain amount of physical experience, when the physical body disintegrates because of natural reasons, for the first time an astral entity, an astral egg is formed, which stores the experiences of the first incarnation. Now, this astral egg has certain astral experiences in the astral worlds, which are finer frequency worlds compared to the physical universe. After some time, the astral egg is again left in the astral worlds, and the essence is drawn back to the causal body or the empty shell in the causal worlds. There it ruminates upon what happened. It ruminates upon the physical experience and the consequences thereupon in the astral worlds. It plans again one more dip in the physical body. So on, it goes on and on and on. So, there is the causal body in the causal worlds, there is the astral body in the astral worlds, and there is the physical body in the physical worlds. With every incarnation, the causal body in the causal worlds gets strengthened, becomes more colorful, richer in experiences, various types of human experiences, of being a woman, of being a man, being an Indian, being an American, being a Negro, being a white, being a rich, being a poor. Various kinds of economic levels, social levels. So, after a fair number of incarnations, a search for self-knowledge or who am I begins in the final stages of the incarnations for this causal entity. So, when it first takes a dip into the physical system, it is called as an infant soul. After a few number of incarnations, it is called as the baby soul. After yet more number of incarnations, it is called as an young soul. Then it becomes a mature soul, then an old soul. An old soul is at the end of the incarnations, and then it wants to transcend. It wants to know the truth. It wants to become a master. It knows that it was born as an image of the old self, now it wants to regain its paradise. So, then the spiritual sadhana starts, then the meditation starts, then the third eye is awakened, then the knowledge of previous incarnations happens in this very physical body, on this very earth. When all this happens, this old soul becomes a transcendent soul and transcends the chain of births and deaths and is promoted from the causal worlds to the supracausal worlds. It stays in the lower reaches of the supracausal worlds, but every transcendental soul which has transcended for itself has to come back again to help other souls, to be example of spiritual mastery to other evening souls, other old souls who want to know the way. So, when an old soul transcends, becomes a transcendental soul, it is called a arihant. When it comes back as a transcendental soul, in a number of incarnations as a helper to mankind, as a spiritual teacher, it is called as the bodhisattva stage. When that stage is also over, when a number of teaching assignments have been completed, finally a perfect master, as a perfect master, the last life is lived to go on to become an overself. That particular stage is called as Buddhahood. So, when the old soul becomes a transcendental soul, it is called as Arihant stage. As a transcendental soul, you come back again to help so many people a number of times. That is called as the Bodhisattva stage. Then, as a perfected master, you live the last life as a Buddha. That is called as, now you are an infinite soul. When you reach your own infinite stage, then when you die as an infinity, you cannot be contained again in one more physical body. It is out of question. So, all ourselves are infinite souls. They have encompassed within themselves infinity. They have become Parama Atmas. They have become fathers who are in the heaven. So, this is the story of the soul. When a soul is infant, no spiritual knowledge is necessary, nor can it understand, nor it is incumbent. An infant soul just exists, works for its livelihood, and that is there. A baby soul acquires a rudimentary personality and tries to consolidate its personality in various particular patterns. An young soul is a leader of so many worldly parochial movements, so many sects, castes, so many religions, molds. All the young souls are the leaders of this particular parochial sects that the world is witnessing. A mature soul doesn't bother about sects or differences between people. A mature soul is bent upon developing its own arts, sports, crafts and sciences. An old soul starts the spiritual quest, and when its spiritual quest is ended, it becomes a transcendental soul. Then, as a transcendental soul, a soul practices its transcendence over a long amount of time, it becomes an infinite soul. A Jesus or a Krishna or a Buddha or a Mahavir, all had become infinite souls. It is our duty now, in turn, to take on that charge from these masters and become infinite ourselves. And unless a soul becomes infinite, there is no way from going out of this choice. So, this journey of the soul from being an infant soul to that of an infinite soul, it can take any number of incarnations. The number of incarnations can run into thousands or hundreds or even tens, depending upon one's intent, one's understanding. Apart from these souls which have emanated from a particular overself, there are any number of souls which have graduated from animal group soul, which have individualized themselves from the animal group souls. The animal group souls have emerged from the plant group souls. The plant group souls have emerged from the mineral group souls. So, while souls are created from the above, souls are also created from the below. Vast number of hordes of souls are created from the below. And quite a number are also produced from the above. However, the first soul, whether it is individuated from the animal group soul or whether it comes from an oversoul, in its potential it is one and same. There is no difference. So, please understand that there are three deaths. The first death is of the physical body, where you put away the physical garment and take on the astral garment. After living your life in the astral worlds, you set away your astral garment too. When you set away the physical garment, the physical body is called as the corpse. When you set away the astral garment is called as the scoop. Then you get back to your causal worlds. The third and final death is when you set away your causal body too and promote yourself into supracausal worlds. That happens only when you are enlightened, when your eye ceases to be, when your mind ceases to be. As long as you hold on to your I-ness and mindness, you will be only a causal dimension and you can never rise up to supracausal worlds. One has to dissolve one's own self-importance. There should be no self-pity whatsoever. When you dissolve your self-pity to zero, when you dissolve your self-importance to zero, in that moment you are promoting yourself from causal worlds to supracausal worlds. So, this is all the story of the soul. When one understands, comprehends all these things personally through meditation, one becomes a knower, a seer. There are any number of books by great masters who have written on their own personal soul experiences. For example, please read a great book called as A Soul's Journey by Peter Richelieu. Or read Ledbetter's books on Devacanic plane, astral plane, causal plane. Or read Anubison's books on reincarnation, karma. Or read Jane Roberts' books on the nature of psyche, nature of personal reality, unknown reality, dreams, evolution. If at all anybody wants to know about dream state, nobody can do better than read said books. If at all anybody wants to know the total nature of psyche, nature of ourselves, nobody can do better than read Jane Roberts' books. If at all one person wants to know what exactly is normal life after death, you have to go to Lobsang Rampa or Peter Richelieu. There are so many great books. And you please meditate. Concentrate upon being in a wakeful state every day in your own dreams. Then all that has been the lot of a perfect master can be your lot too. It is all simple, straightforward. You fix up that goal, you work towards it, and you will achieve that in no time. You don't fix up that goal, you don't know methodology to go about it, and you don't work it out incessantly, how can you achieve it? It's all very simple. Fix up that goal and go about it methodically, without running over much, casually, coolly, every day. Spend a few hours, earmark a few hours, a couple of hours for meditation, reading right books, again meeting right people. Then you will start this journey of becoming a perfect master, and you will overcome the final death, that is the third death, and you will go away free into the supracausal worlds, which is the basic intent of the ourself for all of us. So, on contemplating death and all these things, where are we? We are in bliss. We are in tension freeness. We are in a joyous state forever. Now you know that your loved ones cannot be lost. When your wife dies, you meet your wife again. When your children die, you meet your children again. When your mother dies, your father dies, you meet them again. It's only a temporary gap, which all the more enhances the quality of meeting when you meet them again in the astral worlds. So, this is all that is there on death. So, everyone should be happy that there is no death whatsoever. Death is a laughable proposition. Death is a promotion, an onward journey with a brighter vehicle, that is the astral body. On that score, please don't invite death, don't commit suicides. Try to live as long as possible until you are satisfied with your own innings, and I think that's all there for death. So, Mr. Vijay Kumar, the aim of pyramid spiritual societies is to educate people on the fact that there is no death. The aim of the pyramid spiritual societies is to make every person a spiritual scientist. And to be a spiritual scientist means to understand the story of soul and the three deaths in particular: the physical death, the astral death, and the causal death. So that is the technical knowledge that is required for every person on the earth. Now, everybody need not be a yogi, but everybody has to be benefited from the knowledge of yoga. Everybody need not be a scientist, but everybody must reap the benefits of science. Yogis are spiritual scientists, but the general mankind should be benefited from the spiritual knowledge. And if the people base their lives on the expertise available with the spiritual scientists such as Jesus, Krishna, Ramana Maharshi, Aurobindo, Mahavir, Peter Richelieu, Richard Bach, Carlos Castaneda, Annie Besant, Ledbetter, Gina Rajadasa, Colonel Olcott, Blavatsky, Dodson, Khalil Gibran, Michael Mamie, Barbara and Brennan, then your life will be complete. Everybody need not become a spiritual scientist, but everybody must be benefited from the spiritual science. If the spiritual scientist makes his own incarnation as the last one, those people who are benefited by the spiritual science, who make efforts to be benefited by the spiritual science, they will reduce their number of incarnations, which is wonderful at their particular stage of evolution. An infant soul, or a baby soul, or an young soul, or an immature soul, they cannot obviously be spiritual scientists, but they can be benefited by the spiritual science. Then the number of incarnations that they need to take up in every given cycle of being an infant soul, or a baby soul, or an young soul, or a mature soul, the number of incarnations gets drastically reduced. So that's very, very great benefit indeed. For old souls, when you become a spiritual scientist, it becomes the last incarnation. For other souls, when they are benefited, when they try to use this spiritual knowledge in whatever capacity that they can muster in their respective lives, then they will be able to reduce the number of visits onto this earth drastically. So, while all old souls need to become spiritual scientists, all other souls need to become spiritually knowledgeable. They should have basic general knowledge about spirituality. Nowadays, in the general knowledge, people are told about who is the Prime Minister of Norway, or Prime Minister of Uzbekistan, or what is the Arctic temperature. Many things are told, but nothing is told about spiritual knowledge, spiritual wisdom, which is a shame on humanity. So, throughout the schools, throughout the basic education, general knowledge on spirituality must be compulsory. Okay, Vijay Kumar, I think that sums it up.